In this lesson, I'm going to look at the control of general system settings. These are the types of settings that allow us to control a range of different behaviors inside Sage CRM. The first of these, logging, I've actually covered in another lesson. So first of all, let's have a look at these database settings. Here you can see that we can control the database username and password that the system utilizes. It's here that once we've installed the system, we can change we can change over to using a different database and password, provided that it provides us with the correct rights. Or if we're using SQL Server, we could also use integrated Windows NT security to allow us to interact. We can identify the correct database driver that we're going to be using, and here we can also indicate the server that we are connecting to. With the default database, this might be tempting to think that we can provide an alternative way of logging on, but this is really suitable only for limited purposes within a testing and development environment. It is not something that is supported inside a production environment. If I here change this to always use the default database to be no, you can see that when a user logs on, come to log on, you can see that they'd be presented with the idea of logging on to an alternative database. And this is useful for allowing us, in certain circumstances within a development environment, to allow for checking of different rules perhaps that we're working with, but it does mean that it would interfere with the behavior of everything from escalation engines through to the behavior of the email manager through to Outlook integration as well. So this is not supported within a production environment. You've got the query timeout and the port number. So again, this is all the way in which we can control the settings of connection through to the database. The next thing to look at within the system screens would be self-service, but that is covered in another lesson. And so instead we'll look at the idea of metadata refresh. Now here you might want to issue a refresh for certain metadata structures if you have made a change directly in the database. This is not something that would be normally done, but there are some limited circumstances where you would want to turn on or change a hidden system parameter, and some of those things would be discussed in some of the technical articles on the community site. If you are refreshing the metadata, please be aware when you issue a refresh all or you selectively choose to refresh views, what happens is that all views are dropped and then recreated. So if you are doing a refresh all, it's important that you have logged all users out from the system, and we'll mention how to do that in a moment. So normally when you make metadata changes through the general changes of the interface, those sorts of changes would automatically involve a selective metadata refresh. If you have decided to carry out a full metadata refresh or specifically the refreshment of views, then you'd need to make sure that people are logged out. With system behavior, these are settings that have been discussed in another lesson. With locks, this is the control by which we would be able to identify and monitor the locks that are being created dynamically within inside the system. If I, as a user, and here I'm logged on as Kylie Ward, if I open up and make a change to a record and then switch across here to as Susan May as another user, and I try and access that record, what we'll see is that the record is currently being edited by Kylie Ward. The details of that lock is available to us as a system administrator. We can see that the type of information that is held is the session ID information. The table ID identifies the structure as the company that we're in that has been locked, and we have the unique identifier of the record that has been locked as well, and who placed the lock. We can understand that this session information is tied through to user activity as well, which is discussed in another lesson. If we go back to our consideration of our system, we have our locks, and we've discussed those there. Timings, these are associated with service level agreement behavior, and they're discussed in another lesson. Web service, control of web services, again discussed in another lesson, but keyword search is something that we can talk about now. When I go into the keyword search, we can see that here we have information about the monitoring of the keyword searching, and we have information to allow us to control the interval that is used in minutes, and also whether or not we actually want to have keyword search turned on inside the system. When we discuss views in another lesson, we'll look at the way in which we can allocate a particular view for an entity to be the view that is used for keyword searching. .NET Admin is relevant to the API usage for the .NET API, and that's something that is discussed in the lessons in the developer course. And lock system is the usage that we would log out all the users who are currently inside the system beyond the system administrator. So if I was to continue with this, all of the users like Kylie Ward and Susan May would be locked out of the system, and the locks would be dropped as well. Please note that if you have to restart, then services like the escalation service and the keyword search and the mail manager would also have to be restarted manually if you when you come back to unlock the system. License key details, very easy to understand. It allows you to monitor what are the components within your license, and here you can see that I'm using a current user license, and I've got components all the way through to the developer component and the enterprise integration server licensing. So I've got full customization within inside this particular license key that I'm using in my system. The interactive dashboard allows us to, there are a number of different gadgets that allow us to make calls to websites beyond our corporate network. They might be the RSS gadget, the SData gadget, or the website gadget, and if our corporate network has a proxy, that we would need to enter in the details to allow those requests to go out beyond the system.
And under the system option, you'll find this new icon saying System Health. Now, clicking that allows us to see what is not running. And in this case, we may need to investigate what's wrong with the escalation service. And if I open up my services, here you can see that it is my service is only set to run manually, so it probably failed to restart when the server was last rebooted.
So that's the idea of controlling the different system settings inside Sage CRM.